Module 2, Lesson 7 allows us to look at models of fractions and the division to multiplication using the keep, change, flip method. So your vocabulary word for today is the multiplicative inverse, which is two numbers whose product is 1, which means if I took one fraction, multiplied it by the multiplicative inverse, you would get a 1. So 3/4, the multiplicative inverse is 4/3 because 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 gives me 12, so 12 over 12 equals 1. The second vocabulary word you have is reciprocal, and that's just the inverse fraction. So 3/4 inverse is 4/3. So really, the multiplicative inverse and our reciprocal is the same. We just use two different phrases. So your example here, you have 3/4 divided by 2/5. So we take keep 3/4, change to multiplication, flip, find the reciprocal, so that'd be 5 over 2. 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 2 is 8. 15 divided by 8 is 1, remainder 7, so our answer is 1/7/8. In order to create a model, we have to find the common denominator. Our common denominator between 4 and 5 would be 20. So I have 3/4, I have to find the denominator is 20, so that'd be 4 times 5 gives me 20. 3 times 5 gives me 15. And then for the 2/5, I had to take 5 times 4, so I had to do 2 times 4. That gives me 8/20. So that means I had to make 20 boxes. And that's what that is. And then shade in the 15 of my 20. And then what I was looking for is how many 8/20 are in there. So I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 out of the 8/20. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only had 7 out of the 8/20. So that would be 1 7/8, which is my answer. Lesson 7 uses the models for visual fractions and shows the relationship with the equation. So we're just going to continue with what we have been doing before. We're not going to worry about these two questions here. We're just going to continue with showing how the model can show what the actual problem is doing here. So our question is 3/4 divided by 2/5. So we're going to do what we've been doing. So we start with keep. That's 3/4. We change it to multiplication and flip. Again, I expect you to be writing these words down as well as what I'm doing here. And then flip, finding the inverse, which would be 5 over 2. Multiply straight across, you get 15. 4 times 2 gives you 8. 15 divided by 8 is 1, remainder 7. The denominator stays the same. Now, if we want to do a model, we have to find the least common multiple between 4 and 5, which would be 20. And so I have to do 20 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there are my 20 boxes. I have 3/4 of them. Well, to make this denominator of 20, I had to multiply both by 5. That gives me 15 out of 20, so I'm going to shade in 15 of them. And then they wanted to know how many of the second one would go in there, and so I had to multiply both by 4 so that the denominator is 20, and that would be 8/20. So we have to figure out how many 8/20 there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 out of the 8/20, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is 7 out of the 8/20. That's 1. That's 7/8. So that's the 1 7/8. I'm going to have you go ahead and do example 2 and example 3 for me. Do your best to show the equation and the modeling. I'll check it for you and then move you on.